Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. Today we're going to do an updated character guide on Dark Knight Cecil. So he does have his BTFR active in-game now. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at his artifacts, his spheres, and his calls, and then we're going to take a look at his upgraded kit, and then take a look at his BTFR. Now I did not pull for his BTFR, I do not have those weapons, but I was able to find someone on the friends list who does. So my plan is I'm going to showcase my Dark Knight Cecil for most of it, and then I'm going to bring in the friend unit, and we're going to try to do like some BTFR stuff just to kind of show it off, right? So let's go ahead and hop right in here. For those of you unfamiliar with Dark Knight Cecil, he is a dark damage dealer who does do launching. His gimmick is that Dark Knight gimmick from the original game where he does deal damage to himself as he does attacks. He gets a lot of benefits from being low in health. And he also now can do like HP poison and some other type of traps on the enemies, which is a new gimmick that he's got as well, which I could see his dark trap kind of playing in with a character like Cecil and her FR, or playing in with like Maria and her traps. I think there's a little bit more utility there with the traps that he has now. But other than that, you know, I've said this before, I'm not a huge fan of his kit just because I don't like the HP gimmick, but I'll show it to you and you guys can decide if you like him or not for yourself, right? So his calls, he's got Valiant Blow and he's got Soul Eater. So Valiant Blow, nothing too crazy here other than like it's dark damage and it launches, and then I'll make another unit launchable. So it is an on-demand kind of singular launch for a character. Once again, we'll make the other enemies launchable one time, so it's kind of a one-time use launch. Could be some use to that, right? Now his LD is actually pretty good. So his LD, it's going to do a one-turn delay on the enemies. It is going to do Dark Imperil on the enemies, and then it puts like his really good debuff on them. And the debuff is going to do like a Brave Sap on them, and then make it so that the enemies take 20% more HP damage. So this is the type of debuff you want on a call. So I would say Dark Knight Cecil's call, because of this LD debuff, that's very powerful. I'd actually say it's very good. So it's a call that I haven't utilized as much, but I could see myself using it just because I know it's got 20% HP damage up and it's got a launch on it. Not a bad call at all, actually. So I definitely could see some use out of that, right? Let's look at Dark Knight Cecil here. So his passives, artifact passives. So there's a couple of ways you can go with him. I feel like Attack 108, Max Brave 330 is a pretty standard route. That's probably what I'm going to go for. But the other one that you could do is if you want to focus more on attack, you could do Attack 108 and low HP attack up. It's really going to be very attack focused, and this is a character that is going to be living under 50% health most of the time. So this guy is someone where you're going to really utilize some of these low damage spheres as well, which we're going to talk about right now. But yeah, I'll go with one of those two pairings. You for sure want Attack 108. He's a damage dealer, and then either pair with Max Brave or the low HP attack up. And then let's look at the spheres here. So on the A slot, you want the typical attack and brave damage, but I say this a lot with my A spheres. There are so many A spheres that do similar things, right? That raise attack, raise max brave, do brave damage, things like that. So since there's a lot of options to get what we want, I always like using spheres that kind of cater to a character's gimmick, right? If a character has dodge, I like to give them spheres that require dodging. If a character does weakness damage, I like to give them spheres that require weakness damage, right? Well, Dark Knight Cecil is one of the very rare characters that self-damage themselves, right? And they want to be low in health. So, like, any low HP sphere I'm going to throw on this guy. Notably, I think Renoa's is a really good one here. And then I think his own is very good. So, his own or Renoa. Otherwise, you could just go with the typical A sphere if you want to, right? You could throw, like, a Sephiroth on there, attack max brave. You could do Jack, attack brave damage. You could do Rydia, because he does do weakness damage. He dark enchants and he imperils. So you could go with like a Rydia would be really good if you want brave damage and attack, right? But I opted to just throw my Renoa on there because it's a low HP sphere. Really, there's hardly any characters in the game that can use those, so I might as well use it while I can, right? C slot's kind of interesting for this guy. To me, it's like odd that he even has a C slot. Actually, it's not odd, I guess. So the C slot is a healing sphere. And technically, Dark Knight Cecil does heal in his kit. So I guess that's why they gave it to him. But really, he's more of a damage dealer, and he doesn't actually want to heal most of the time. He does have self-healing just so that you can get it if you need it, right? Because the reason why he has healing is because he has last stand, so you want a way to be able to heal himself back up if he uses his last stand. But for the most part, you don't want to put a sphere on this guy that's going to be healing, especially if you want to try to stay under 50%, right? So Kryl, I think, is like a really nice fit here. I feel like Kryl or Alphanod are two pretty decent ones, just because they're not going to do healing, and they're going to do things that you want for the party. So Alphanod is kind of the de facto C slot that most characters can use, and it's got party attack up on it. Kryl here, though, is a nice Brave Gain sphere. And Brave Gain can be really nice for Cecil, especially because he's a launch character. You want to be able to Brave Gain before the launch, be able to do a lot of damage. So I think Kryl's is fine here. That's what I opted for. And then on the E slot, you know, attack is really good. I'm a big proponent of if a character does weakness damage and they have an E slot, to me, Pain is my personal favorite. So I did throw a Pain sphere on here. This is when you do weakness damage, it's party attack up and then enemy attack down. I just think that's a really nice combo. You're lowering the enemy's ability to do as much damage to you, and you're increasing your own attack. I kind of like that. But you could do like Seymour Emperor. Those are kind of like the standard like damage dealing ones. I think Yuffie's could work too. You could do Eldnarsh and Sarah if you want a little something different. But I think in terms of attack, just do like Seymour Emperor, Yuffie, or like I got here, Pain. I really like Pain Sphere. All right, so let's jump into the showcase here. Now, this is a lower invest Dark Knight Cecil, right? I do not have BT, I do not have FR. But I did equip him with the ultimate weapon. So if you do full invest this guy, I mean, my guy should look pretty similar to that. It's just you can't see the BT attack and FR, but I'm going to do that with the friend unit. But in terms of like what we're getting for like the standard normal damage, I think we should be competitive with what a fully built Dark Knight Cecil could do. I don't have the blue armor, but I am going to heavily support him and try to make him look good here. So let's go and hop into the showcase. And so yeah, we're surrounding him with Lunafreya and Penelo. I just have to be careful because he's carrying like so many buff slots. I want to try to at least get him Heavy Prayer. I'm not so concerned if I get the Quick Prayer, but Quick Prayer would be good too. And actually, Lunafreya is coming up next. So with Dark Knight Cecil, typically what you want to do is you want to open with his LD. Because, so the main thing you just need to understand about him is he has a lot of buffs and abilities that scale based on his HP. He has two main thresholds. Basically, one threshold that a lot of his skills will use is just if you're under 100% health. So if you have any damage at all, stuff will get better. Okay, and I'll talk about those things specifically as we go through the attacks. But he has an important threshold at 50%. His BT effect really relies on it, and then he's got other buffs that rely on it as well. And they're throwing it at our faces with this new Transcendence 13 fight that's very annoying. We'll talk about that later when I get my video uploaded, but they make that fight... I don't want to complain too much. But anyways, we'll complain about that fight later. For now, we'll focus on Dark Knight Cecil. But yeah, you want to keep this guy under 50%. Now, one thing I'll say in general about him is you might think that's very dangerous, being under 50% health a lot. He has a unique Last Stand, and for those of you unfamiliar with Last Stand means if you would take lethal damage, you survive with 1 hit point. Normally, Last Stand only works if you're above 50%. He has a Last Stand that works above 20%. So as long as you're between 20 to 50% health, that's kind of the sweet spot you want to be in with him, right? So let's hit Soul Eater. This is going to be a free instant turn, and it is going to put our health below the 50% threshold, which should basically unlock his kit, and it did do a delay on the enemy. So 800k with like 200k splash, that's decent damage. I've definitely seen better out of an LD, but that's all right, right? So that consumes 60% of his hit points. By the way, something I should say is when you're doing missions, you know, missions will have HP requirements that you can't take a certain amount of damage. When you self-inflict, it does not affect the mission. It's only HP damage taken from enemies. So don't let that deter you from using Dark Knight Cecil. Like, you doing damage to your own health is fine. You just have to make sure you manage it and, like, don't die, right? So that did dark damage. He got a Brave Gain, 1 turn enemy delay. So he gets a couple of important buffs. So Power of Darkness and Light Within Darkness. And literally, I think all of his attacks pretty much do it. So his LD, his EX, his 15, and his 35 all give him Power of Darkness and Light Within Darkness. So I'm going to talk about them now, and then I won't repeat it again, just so you know that all of his attacks do this. So Light Within Darkness is Brave Regen, so he just gets Brave Regen every turn. It does scale on his iBrave. And then the Power of Darkness, this is probably the better buff. It gives an attack up, Max Brave and Overflow stolen up, Dark enchant, and even though he's already doing dark damage, when you enchant over the same element, it just improves the brave damage you do, the weakness damage you do. He gets HP damage taken minus 10%. He gets brave damage up. He gets HP damage up. When he does weakness damage, he gets more brave stolen. And he deals additional true damage as well. Okay. Now, the thing is all those stats I read off, a lot of those stats scale on the thresholds, right? So, for example, the brave damage one is 20% at full health, 40% if you're below 100, 60% if you're below 50. Now, I'm not going to throw all the numbers at you. Just know that if you're below 50%, the power of darkness buff is at its best. That's what you really want to know there, right? So he got all that from those two buffs. And then also on the LD, it does put a Dark Imperil down. And then the very important New Moon Mysteries debuff. And this is what was really good about his LD call. It does a 10% max brave sap, and it does HP damage up on the enemies. It does do Dark Imperil. So that's very good, right? So the enemies have all of that on. Let's go ahead and let's look at some other attacks. Now, one thing I'm going to talk about, I might not use them very much, but he has a Brave attack plus plus and an HP attack plus plus. These are how he self-heals. So if you press one of those buttons, you only want to do it when you want to heal, right? Let's go to the 15. The 15 here is called Darkness, and right now it's on Darkness Plus, okay? Now, basically, the plus versions of his 15 and 35 will be active as long as you are not at full health, or if you use your EX, you'll get one use of the plus version even if you're at full health, right? So let's do Darkness Plus. You're going to see it's going to drain a little bit of health. Does AoE brave damage 1.2 mil. I mean, that's pretty good, right? Just for a 15 CP single target. I'll definitely take 1.2 mil. So that consumes 15% of his current HP. And then it just does the dark AoE attack. And then he gets a max brave up, and then he gets the power of darkness, light within darkness, those two buffs I just talked about, right? Let's go ahead and quick prayer Dark Knight Cecil. Nice. All right, and you know what? Let's LD and just give him a heavy prayer too, just so I can look at his damage a little bit. Sure, we'll do that. Perfect. And then we'll just spam through Luna Freya really quick. I suppose we do need to ramp up into an FR, because I do want to showcase his FR with the friend unit. So I will ramp here a little bit with Luna Freya while I've got the free turns. Might as well. I guess Pinello can ramp too. We've got so many ramping options here, right? Let's go ahead and pop the burst effect with Luna Freya. Once again, we're going to make Dark Knight Cecil look as good as we can. Surround him with support. See what his damage numbers can look like. I do think if you focus on this guy, right, support him, build him, he can look really good. I just said this before when I did my Should You Pull. I'm not a fan of like having to manage the HP. And the current Shinryu fight exemplifies that, how frustrated I get with trying to manage his HP. The whole fight is about managing his dang HP so that they don't instant kill you. It's very annoying. Alright, let's go ahead and ramp a little bit with Pinello. I'm not going to ramp all the way to FR. Because I think we'll just do some normal turns with my Dark Knight Cecil. Alright, so that's pretty good ramp for now. Let's go ahead and pop the BT effect here. Yeah, so one thing you have to be careful of, I'm going to say this right now, especially with the current Shinryu fight, it's really hard to pair him with someone like Pinello. Because Pinello's got HP regen, and you're trying to keep your HP below 50%, and it's really hard, because he just heals every time he takes a turn. So, for normal fights, it's not as big of a deal, because most fights, bosses won't instant kill you if you're not at 50% or lower health. But for this current Shinryu, it is tough trying to bring Pinello with him, for sure. Okay, so you can see right now he's at full health. So his 15 and his 35, they're at the base version. So here's what you can do. If you need to, on the spot, drain some health, but not lose your turn, you can use his AA, which is Danger Crush. So that is going to drain 51% of his health. So it gets him right in that threshold. But you can see I just regened because of because of Pinello, right? So let's go ahead and do Valiant Blow. This is basically his launch attack, and it's going to drain a decent amount of health. Let's go ahead and pop that, and we'll do our launch damage. Okay. Perfect. So yeah, 2 mil on the launch. I mean, the damage is good, right? It's there. So let's look at Valiant Blow. So that's 40% of his HP. And then once again, the damage is just better if it's the plus version. Initiates a launch, it'll make the other unit launchable. And then allies brave and HP damage is up by 10% during that launch. So that's pretty good. He also gets an attack up. And then the power of darkness, light within darkness buffs there. Okay, so I mean, I guess we've already shown off the base kit, right? So I guess we basically can bring in the friend unit. So what I'm going to do... Yes, I'm going to bring in the friend unit. And we're going to... Oh, we got to do the EX. So this is perfect. We can do the EX with the friend unit. Now, the EX is called Dark Cannon. What I'm going to do... I'm going to take the friend unit and I'm going to Danger Crush with them. I mean, I guess I could just do the BT attack too, because we don't get a full BT phase, right? So maybe... Let's do Danger Crush, lower our health. I've got 5 turns to work with. We'll make it happen, though. So it's going to be a very short-lived FR, but at least I can initiate it and maybe attack with the other characters. So we're going to do that, and then I want to do... Sure, let's do Dark Cannon, which is the EX. Let's pop that. Okay, so we have 1.5 mil AoE. That's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, his damage is there, right? Like, he's good. It's just I don't like the HP stuff. So it is a dark attack. It does do the splash there, as you saw. His EX does recover a skill use of his 15 and 35, which is very good. And then he gets 1 unconditional use of the plus version. So once again, I mentioned this earlier. Even if he's at full health, he'll still get 1 use of each at the plus versions, which is pretty decent. Gives him Power of Darkness, Light Within Darkness, those same 2 buffs that all these attacks do, and then it does do Dark and Peril. So once again, a lot of these buffs and debuffs are repetitive, so you can pretty much just... I think the way you're really meant to play this guy, and if you look at it, right, his 35 drains 40% health, his 15 CP does 15% health, his LD does 60% health, his AA does 51%. So what they're doing is they're giving you different tools so that you can lower your health by different amounts to help you balance it, right? And then his HP and his Brave Pluses will, excuse me, will heal if you need it. So the idea is it's like, oh, if I'm kind of low on health but I want to heal a little bit, use Darkness because it's only 15% heal. Or it only hurts yourself by 15% of your life, right? So maybe you have low health but you want to stay above 20% because maybe using Valiant Blow would put you below 20%. You don't want to do that. Because then you're out of range for your last stand, right? So just keep that in mind. It gives you a way to manage his health a little bit better. All right, so now I guess I'm going to quick prayer the friend unit. And then we're just going to attack through and get to a turn. And yeah, we should pretty much be at FR by the time we get to Dark Knight Cecil. If not, we got Pinello there at the end. Now, with my Pinello, I'm going to try not to use HP regen at all. So that we can keep our Dark Knight Cecil lower in health. That's the other thing. It's just like anti-synergistic with what I want to do. I mean, I could Fatal Dance, but I'm not going to. We'll just do a Haste Rumba to ramp, and then we'll just Brave Attack. I just don't want to risk anything because like Intercession heals, Fatal Dance heals, right? Like Pinello's just got so much healing that yeah, she doesn't really synergize well at all. Hold on, I want to be careful here. Oh, I should have done this earlier. Yes, let's use Sid Reigns and just bring Dark Knight Cecil up. That makes a lot of sense. That way we can just get to what we want to see here. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to hop into FR, and then I'll probably do BT Effect. Or should I do BT Effect first and then FR? Maybe I'll do BT first. Maybe. All right. Let's go and I just want to pass turn. So sure, let's just do that. Alright, I think I'll do the BT effect first, and then I'll FR. Sure. That way we can see Dark Knight Cecil with his BT effect up. Yeah, you see those. Yeah, the poison. So, alright, so let's go ahead. And let's go ahead and throw down... yes, the BT effect. Start of a distant journey. Let's pop that. Alright, and of course with Kane, that makes sense. And then we'll talk about this. I just got to see that damage. This is my first time actually seeing his BT. So, okay, 1.3 mil AoE, very good damage, right? So, here's what the BT does. It's an 8-turn burst effect, And it's just got a bunch of buffs on it, right? So brave damage limit, HP damage up, HP damage limit up. Allies will heal after their HP attack. And then basically each turn, the party's HP will get consumed. So you see our party got HP drained. And then there's also an HP poison. So there's a lot of things going on here. So it's like draining everyone's health, but then we can also heal health, right? Here's the thing with his BT effect. Now, I say that it's like, yep, it's just a bunch of buffs, but the buffs I mentioned, if he's under 50%, these are some of the best auras in the game. Like, they're really good. Like, HP damage limit 30%, like, that's pretty good, right? HP damage 30% up, right? Brave damage limit 60%. Brave damage an extra 60%. Like, these are really high numbers, but he's got to be below 50%. So as your HP fluctuates, his BT buff gets worse. So you got to make sure that you keep under 50%. Let's go ahead and pop the FR. So let's hit that. So this is called Dark Blast with VV, of course. Okay, what's the damage? And you can see we're just draining our health like crazy here. Okay. We'll attack through. All right, so that was good. That was 3 mil. I mean, that was really good damage. So it consumes 30% of the party's HP. It is a free instant turn. Yeah, and you can see all the trap stuff going off there in between, right? We'll watch it as we go through, but it's literally just like sapping everything. So here's his HP damage condition. So if you do dark damage on your own turn, it's 20%. If your health is below 100%, it's 30% more. And if you're below 50%, it's 60% instead of 30. So basically, if you do dark damage and you're below 100% health, it's 50%. If you do dark damage and you're below 50% health, then it does 80% up. And this goes for any character, not just Dark Knight Cecil. So the reason why he's draining the whole party down is then, as long as you can get the party enchanted, their health is going to be low enough that they all can be getting the 80%, right? So now, we can kind of use whatever buttons we want. Sure, let's go ahead and... I mean, Valiant Blow is probably the button you usually want to press because you're getting launching, right? Alright, so this should be an 80% gain. Roughly. Let's see what we get. Yep, 88. Very good gain, right? Yep, and then there's that sap that just like sapped everybody, right? So now we're still in force, but because that Cecil's gone, I don't think we can gain more HP, right? But we got an idea. I don't think we can get any more HP damage bonus because that Cecil, I believe, needs to be on the field. We'll see. Yep, so we're not getting the gains anymore from the effect. But anyways, guys, there you go. I mean, this is what I talked about in my Should You Pull, right? If you like this guy, you build around him, and you feature him with his FR during his BT, this guy, if you do an FR BT, he's going to be getting 88% a shot and doing a ton of damage. Like, he's a good damage dealer. So if you're okay with, like, the HP, you know, manipulation stuff that he's got, and you're okay, like, moderating that, like, definitely, you can go for him. He's a good character. He's just not my cup of tea. So let me know what you think of this guy. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.